Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining me. Today, my guest is Jeffrey Frankel. How are you doing today, Jeffrey?
I'm hanging in there. How are things up in Nebraska?
Nebraska is getting colder. We've been going from the 70s, and now we're gonna start going into snow. So
Well,
something that
I won't
that
tell
I'm
you
not.
it was 82 here today.
Oh, rub it in.
California, but Thanksgiving, it's going to get back down in the 60s.
I would still take that. I would definitely take that. So, and for the audience, you're in San Diego, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yes. So, are you originally from San Diego?
So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and
Okay.
then in 1996, I started a career in nonprofit communal service. Uh,
Okay.
and my then boss, or who would hopefully become my boss, says, "You're too fresh. You're green under the gills. You can't
Uh-huh.
you can't start out in L.A., New York, Chicago." And he gave me the choices, and if I remember them all, it was like Memphis, Atlanta,
Okay.
and Charleston.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I was living on a coast, and only one of those other places was on a.
Yeah, with
So
Charleston, yeah.
picked up. I lived 3 miles from Pacific Ocean, and I
Oh.
moved to an island off the coast of Charleston Harbor.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow.
It was a blast
That
for the few years I
I,
was down south. It was total different environment,
oh, I
and
would
it
love
was,
that.
my career's been a blessing. I've gotten to travel both the United States and internationally with
Cool.
work, and I'm blessed. And that's
Yeah,
what
I mean,
I'm here to share is
no.
how we see ourselves as blessings.
Yes, yes, amen. I agree to that. So okay. So what got you back to San Diego then, or to the other coast?
So basically, 2 years into my stint as the regional director in South Carolina, I governed everything with the exception of Atlanta, Georgia, and South
Okay.
Carolina, Augusta, Savannah, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg,
Wow.
uh, etc. Um, so I had the opportunity to take an interagency job transfer to
Okay.
Phoenix.
Okay. Oh, Phoenix. Okay.
So I initially went West Coast to East Coast, came back to Phoenix, and I
Okay.
loved the desert. I
Really? Okay. That's interesting.
loved living there. And I can tell you a little story down the line about, my first time seeing the sunrise over the desert.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
But I lived there for quite a while, and the nonprofit infrastructure, as the city was blossoming, because
Mm-hmm.
it was the number two growing community during the time I was living there. Las Vegas was the only one that was growing
Really?
quicker.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
And basically, the infrastructure in nonprofit communal services was non existent.
Oh, I can see
And
that. Okay.
basically, when 08, 09 happened, when the economy
Uh-huh. Oh,
tanked,
yeah. Yeah.
uh, there wasn't sufficient jobs for the number of bodies that were looking in
Okay.
that.
Wow. Sure.
You
In that
know,
market. Yeah.
so I
Okay.
made a decision at that point. I then after 12 years in Phoenix, jumping jobs
Uh-huh.
and uh, doing different types of experiences, from day school management to
Okay.
synagogue management to fundraising, etc.
Wow. Okay.
I ended up uh, taking a purely fundraising job in Palm Springs, California, in the
Okay.
desert, but in the
Nice.
desert.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I moved back. That was my initiation back into California
You were
lifestyle.
working your way. Yeah. Yeah.
12 or 14 years of being an outsider.
Uh-huh.
And then uh, I could only last there while I was in Phoenix. my wife and I adopted 2 children, and
Okay.
they were in kindergarten and 2nd grade when I went to Palm Springs.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Those of you who know Palm Springs, it's a retirement village.
Right.
It's not a desert like Phoenix, which is a metropolis. It's a
Mhm.
desert where everything is behind the gates of this country club or that country club, this
Yeah.
golf course or that golf course.
Yeah. Exactly.
And uh, it was very difficult for me to get my kids to create a social scene.
Okay.
For instance, my son was one of 8 students
Oh wow.
in his class, and he was the only male in his class.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
give him a lot of male companionship at a time where he's trying to create an
Yeah.
identity for himself.
Right. Exactly.
So we started looking at what it would be to move back to a city at that juncture. Uh, LA, San Diego. I was even looking
Right.
up the Bay Area. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we landed here in greater San Diego about 10, 12 years ago. And much in the same vein as really loving the desert Southwest,
Right.
I grew attached to being back on a coast, to being able to go out and sit on a cliff and put on my ears
Yeah.
in a meditation and
Just yeah. The
go to a different place.
yeah. I hear you. Yes. That is
So,
so cool.
yeah,
No, I mean that is. We talked before. San Diego is one of my favorite places. So, never been to Charleston, but I think I would like Charleston too. So okay, Jeffrey, what is some of your background from when you were growing up, and so what? So
sure.
what is your backstory?
So, I was born to uh, I'm the eldest of 3 kids.
Okay.
When I was born, my parents were in different levels of employment, different forms of employment than there are today. My
Okay.
mother was a practicing attorney,
Okay.
and my father was a business executive for a nationwide company. And
Okay.
he, at some juncture, he made a decision that the company was going in a direction that he did not agree with,
Okay.
and he got out of that line of work and started working for himself, creating
Oh,
uh,
cool.
a retail shop that did very well for itself
Okay.
for a window of time. And now, in his mid 70s, he's retired.
Very
So
awesome.
he gets to sit around the house and waiting for mom to come home and say, "So
Oh,
what you do, honey?"
yeah. I love that.
So
Uh,
yeah,
that
but
is
as I said, I was the oldest of 3.
okay.
My parents went on a major fast diet, which was a little bit of a fad in that era in the
Okay.
late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 52 years old, so
Okay.
born in the early 70s. Now, by this point, I was 7, 8 years old, and they were saying, okay, it's time to have another kid. But the diets that they were taking, the nutrition
Oh.
they were taking on was adjusting their hormones, let's call it.
Hmm. Okay. Right.
And they were not able to naturally conceive at that time.
Okay.
So
Wow.
they adopted a boy locally in Los Angeles.
Okay.
We got custody of my brother straight from the hospital.
Oh wow. Okay.
Uh, so he's been my brother all of his
Yeah.
life. And,
Right. Right.
and
Day
I,
one. Yeah.
I don't call him, we adopted this boy. And
Uh-huh.
so and part of the reason why I bring up I have an adopted brother is because I always knew I wanted to adopt because there's enough love in this world to take on
Yes.
a child and give them a good home. That
Yes.
was my mindset.
Right.
And
Yep.
then 1994 happened, and we'll discuss 1994 down in one of the next couple of questions, I'm sure.
Okay.
Um, but now not being able to conceive my own natural children, I had to go to the world of adoption, and it's been such a blessing.
Very cool.
So,
No,
and then my youngest brother is natural born. Once they
okay.
got off of the programs they were on, they were able to
Really,
conceive.
they were.
They were able to conceive,
Wow.
and so it's unusual in a case of an adoption where it's not the first child, it's not the last child, but it's the middle child.
It is kind of, yeah, very much.
So
And
it's something a little nuanced.
yeah, and just to think, I mean, it shows how important nutrition and all that stuff is too, and good diet and
Yeah,
wow. Okay, so are they close by where you live? Then do you get to
their
see your brother?
family resides up in Los Angeles, so
Okay, pretty
thank
close.
coming up in just a few days. We'll be spending
Nice.
the time up there, getting to
Ah,
be with everybody. And the blessing is we live 125 miles away. They can call me at lunchtime and say, your cousin Ted's in town over
yeah.
for dinner. Can you make it? And if
Mm-hmm.
I have the time
Yep.
and am willing to make the drive, I can do it.
Yep. Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, but it's far enough away. I say
I know
this:
what you mean there too. Yeah, with the
it's far
yeah.
enough away. They're not going to knock at the door and say, "Yeah,
It's kind
neighborhood."
of a win-win distance there. So, oh, that's awesome, and it is. It family's what it's all about, but it is sometimes nice not to have the distance too. So no, that is neat. So okay, so what was next? I mean, I know a little bit of your back. I know a lot of your background. So what was next after that?
So since I've been here in San Diego, um, I've been working in areas of nonprofit communal service, which I now have, upwards of 25, 26 years of experience in, from
Okay,
fundraising to executive management, program management, etc. And in 2020, I was working for an agency that was raising money. Uh, it was a health and wellness organization, but they were raising money for the health and wellness students on the San Diego Unified Campus.
okay,
They were raising money for pre-care and aftercare uh, in those 42, 46 campuses that they partnered.
wow, okay, that's a lot of campuses.
And I took a job on in January of 2020, but
Mm.
the world recognizes what happened in March of 2020, which
Everything changed.
changed when uh,
Yeah.
COVID hit the fan, not the what hit the fan.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, but I think the latter is correct as well.
I
Um,
would agree.
so at that juncture, PPP loan, it kept my job secure for a little bit. I was working
Okay.
remotely, but it was really hard for me to get used to working remotely. But it was
I
a
could see
blessing
that.
because my daughter also had to work remotely. She was in her senior year of high school, and
Okay.
she had to come home and work from home. So it gave us a really nice bonding experience
Yeah.
and a chance that a middle-aged father and a teenage daughter don't generally get.
No, you wouldn't. That was definitely a gift. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely a gift.
that's a good choice of words there, Mark.
Yeah.
So we were home, and then she graduated. Um, Middle of the summer, I was called into the office, and unfortunately, at that juncture, we still didn't know when kids were going to return to school.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and the monies were not getting raised because they were being filtered to health and COVID precautions and all the different things that went along with that era of
Right.
the world changing.
Oh yeah.
So what I took to was I needed to grow. What I hated was I was sitting in front of a computer. What
Mm-hmm.
I realized is you can grow on the computer. You and I have never met face to face. One day we will. We'll be able to give each
Yep.
other
Oh
a
yes.
hug
Yes.
and a thank you. Um,
Yes.
But in reality, at that juncture, it was still very new to many of
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
And at that juncture, I also had said, well, if I'm not full time working, I'm going to offer myself up as a consultant, which I've done at other points in my career. And
Okay.
a consulting firm that I called Frankel Castle,
Okay.
a play on my
I like it.
name.
I like it. Yeah.
But basically, at that juncture, with the world situation, I said, it's time to rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
rebranded Frankelstein Castle and the work it does into Hugs of Healing.
Oh, that
And
is so
the
cool.
Hugs of Healing tagline has always been, in the fragile world in which we live, we can all use hugs of healing.
Oh, yes.
And
Definitely.
that I thought was very meaningful uh, at that juncture in time with the world situation.
Oh, yes. Very true.
Um, Additionally, part of my growth was spending time learning,
Right.
guiding myself. I went back and took a life coaching certification program,
Okay.
as well as in August of that year, I participated in the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within.
Nice. Very nice.
Now, Unleash the Power Within was, I'm not going to say was, it was for me, and it
Mm-hmm.
is for many, a transformative
Yeah.
experience.
Yep.
Um, Basically, you are working so diligently for 10, 15 hours a day for 3 or 4 days straight
Mm-hmm.
on this, on you.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and part of what I had done, and I think it's an appropriate time to talk about 1994.
Yeah.
In 1994, I was near death.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I had a stroke, which gave me hemiparalysis
Wow.
on the right side. It thickened my blood and
Okay.
be what they call a hypocoagulable state of blood. And for anybody with any medical knowledge, all that means is the blood thickened. And
Okay.
it could have thickened anywhere in my body. If it thickened in my leg, I may have needed an amputation. But it thickened
Oh,
in my,
wow.
which is a definition of a stroke.
Okay.
So I went into the hospital having collapsed on the floor of my parents' house.
Wow.
Um, I was living at Santa Barbara at the time, going to college at UC Santa
Mm-hmm.
Barbara,
Okay.
and I came home and I wasn't well, but I didn't know why I wasn't well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't getting a clear picture to why I wasn't well. And that morning, my parents took my brothers, who were 8 and 12 years younger than me. So I was 22. So my middle brother
Okay.
was 10. My youngest brother
Mm-hmm.
was about 7
Okay.
and a half, 7. I took them to Sunday school. And usually, there was 20 minutes, half hour between us and the site. So they just said, hey, let's go grab a bagel and a cup of
Oh,
coffee. We'll go
exactly. Right.
grab the kids
Yeah.
on the backside.
Yep.
And they left me home. I was finishing to pack up, and then I was going to head back up Santa Barbara.
Right.
Um, when they were on en route home, they called the house,
Okay.
and I answered the phone, and I'm going to do an impression, but
Okay.
hello,
Mm.
what the,
Wow.
what? I was heavy tongued from the
Wow. Oh
um,
my gosh.
and my parents could tell that something wasn't right.
Right. Yeah.
I pulled myself up because, again, I had no use of my right extremities. I couldn't do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't walk because if I put pressure on one leg, I'd collapse again.
Wow.
And they called a friend of theirs who lived just on the next block over to come over.
Okay.
And he says, we need to get him to ER stat. From
Wow.
that point forward, my life continued to dwindle, get smaller
Oh.
and smaller. My memory got less and less.
Oh, of your memory. Wow.
And what I mean by that is I could tell that I was going into a hospital. I could tell something wasn't right. But I was 22 years old.
Right.
At 22 years old, you're invincible.
You are. Yeah. You definitely feel like you are.
So I was 22 years old. I was invincible. Yet I was
Yeah.
paralyzed and I
Yeah.
couldn't. They went through a battery of tests and realized it was a stroke. And then they continued to go through testing to realize I had a testicular tumor that they could
Wow.
visually see. But me at 22, that invincible college student said,
Right. Yep.
I got big balls.
Yeah. Yep.
My big
Yeah.
balls almost killed me.
Wow.
Um, so as that day went on, my life got a little bit fuzzier.
I
My
could see
memory
that.
got a bit fuzzier, and by the end of that day, I was put into a medically induced coma.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
could be treated. I was
Okay.
put on breathing tubes, feeding tubes, and going through the CAT scans, the MRIs, etc., to realize that not only did I have testicular cancer, it had metastasized to my lungs.
Gosh.
So it was going throughout my body at that point. That was
Unbelievable.
94. So
Right.
you can be here, I'm lifting my hands, I can get up and down, no
Yeah.
problem.
Just goes to show you never know.
Things happen
Yep.
when you focus on certain things. And we'll
Yep.
go down that path and I'll explain. From that day, I lost 12 days. I don't recall the next 12 days of my life.
Wow.
Yet, during those 12 days, I was on life support system. I had family and friends in the lobby praying for my healing. But
I
yet,
bet.
the clergy that would come to console the family, to support the family,
Right.
came with 2 post-it notes in their little black book of prayer.
Okay. Oh,
One
okay.
on the prayer for healing,
Right.
and one on the prayer for grieving the loss of a child. Because they didn't know what they
Wow.
were walking into when they
Wow.
walked into
Yeah, I could see
the
that.
hospital waiting room. So let's
Yeah, I
start
mean,
we've enough sadness. Let's get a little happier.
yeah. Wow.
So about 13 days later, I was taken out of the medically induced coma and still had that 1% chance of waking up the next day because they didn't know if I would come out of the
Oh,
coma or I just
right.
permanently in the coma. And I didn't know what had gone on.
I bet.
Doctors were poking and prodding me. Family was around me trying to explain. But they had 2 weeks at this point to understand what they were hearing, to understand the Latin that
all the
that
yes,
was being
right.
spoken to them.
Yep.
Um, and they were sharing with me what happened. You had
Wow.
testicular cancer and metastasized to your lungs. You've
That'd have been
already
tough.
had a round of chemotherapy.
Oh,
And
wow.
the reason you can't crawl out of that bed, you may not remember. We found you collapsed on the floor of our bedroom.
Mm.
And these were the kind of messages that I got.
Right.
And as
Yeah.
I began, I share, I gain back use of everything. You're never, after a stroke, going to get 100%.
Yeah. I
I
could see
will
that.
never be 100%. But guess what? I'm 52 right now. I was 22 when I was sick. And anything I want to do, I do. But yet,
Blessing.
there's things that I've had to give up because I don't want to hurt myself.
And I could definitely see that. Yes.
We've talked about the fact that my family is kickboxers and ice hockey
Yes. Yes.
like that. Um, I let that be their thing.
Yep.
I have my thing.
Yes. Yes.
We can go down that path later. But
Okay.
basically, what I wanted to get at was as I began to heal, I began to write. I
Okay.
was writing poetry. I was writing letters to my loved ones. And basically, it was a way of healing for me.
And I can see
I would
that.
take my thoughts that were so jumbled in my brain
Mm-hmm.
on paper and out to someone. Um, so I put all those writings once I resumed my life
Right.
and
Right.
got went into remission, which is my favorite R
Amen.
word.
Oh yes. Yes.
I know we had that conversation
Oh
about life,
yes. With my wife.
um,
Yes.
and basically what I saw that week or 12 days,
Mm-hmm.
I was marched to those pearly white gates,
Yeah.
and I said, I'm not done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll have work to do.
Exactly.
And I had to battle, and it was a battle.
Bet.
You know, thank God for prayer, thank God
Yes.
for medical science,
Yes.
and thank God that I have a loving family that supports me
Amen. Yes.
because it cost a pretty penny to get this boy healthy again.
I have no doubt on that. Yes. Yes.
So, um, really, what I started thinking of myself as is I saw adversity in the face and I
You
challenged
did. Oh yes.
that I was battle tested, that I really want, to use the Tony Robbins language when he talks about archetypes.
Right.
One of those archetypes is the warrior,
Right.
the one who's ready for battle at any time.
Yep.
And I didn't have a choice but to be the warrior,
Oh yeah. That's definitely yes.
you know. And there was a little magician in there that was
Mm-hmm.
playing that fairy dust and saying, "You're going to get better,
Yeah.
better.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm gonna go poof."
Yep. Yeah.
Um, but I have no idea why I was saved, but I'm grateful I was
Yep.
saved
Yes.
because, as I said, I still had work to do.
You did.
So I started when, as I mentioned before, the rebranding to Hugs of Healing.
Right. Right.
And what I was doing in 2020 when I was out of work was I was running groups. What that I called it a platform. It was the
Okay.
adversity platform. And it was a series where I would bring in colleagues of mine to do workshops.
Okay.
Sometimes it was a yoga instructor, sometimes it was a meditation professional, sometimes it was a therapist.
Okay, cool.
Sometimes it was, I did one with a faith based woman out of Chicago,
Okay.
daughter. My daughter was
Oh.
16 at the time,
Uh-huh.
and I did a 2 hour session.
Wow.
And it was renewal of spirit.
Right.
And
Okay.
Tanisha took that on, and renewal of body. And my daughter
Yeah.
Sophia took that on.
Wow.
Um, so there were lots of different things I did, but really what I came out of that year with was the construct of hugs of healing that I mentioned before. In the
Right.
fragile world in which we live, we can all use a hug
Oh.
of healing.
Oh, definitely.
But
Yes.
out of challenge adversity, I came up with we must live life beautifully amidst the all the adversity the world throws at us.
Yes,
And
definitely.
that is the focus of what I do. It's the
And that's
focus of
awesome.
my story.
Mm-hmm.
And in August, when I went to UPW,
Mm-hmm.
one of the speakers was Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if you aren't aware of the Rockies story and his battle to make it a
Oh,
movie, and now
ex-
6 or 8 or 10 movies that
exactly. Yes.
thrown into, um, it was a story of perseverance,
Mhm.
of passion. He
Yep.
was this little runt of an Italian guy.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to star in this movie. And they said, well, we'll let you direct it, but your body
Yeah.
size, your body shape just
Right.
doesn't fit the role.
Exact. Right.
And he said no. And he left the whoever was across the desk from him, he left them saying, this is my vision and this is what I want. I'm hoping you'll take me up on it. And he was sent away multiple times, only to find somebody who said yes.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is history. The
It
6
is.
movies that we talk about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Infamous. I mean,
So while he was on, Rocky 3 had the theme song "Eye of the Tiger," sung
yep.
by a band by the name of Survivor.
Yes.
Survivor was the first ever live rock and roll band I saw in concert.
Huh. Cool.
So as my mind worked, all of a sudden Sylvester Stallone and I had something in common. We had nothing
Uh-huh.
in common at
Uh-huh.
all, but
Uh-huh.
we had at
But
least one
that
little thing in
you
common.
did. Yeah.
And I started writing an introduction.
Okay.
And that introduction is in the book. And the
Yes.
book is right here. The book
So
is
cool.
entitled But I'm a Good Me. And the reason for the book,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much anger, there's so much emotion, there's so much fear, there's so much fill in the blank
Yes.
that goes on when you battle medical ailments like this.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And every step of the way, all I wanted to be was me
Yep. I
and
hear
be a
you.
good me.
Yep.
Um, so, I've learned to see my burdens as blessings. I've learned
That's the way to do it.
to recognize that even before I was sick,
Mm-hmm.
going back to my youth,
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up in the Inglewood Unified School District, which is predominantly African American Black.
Okay.
And I was in a class of 35 kids, and 30 of them were not like me.
Okay.
I may have been the majority in the world, but I wasn't the majority in my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And what did that teach me? Taught me love, see no color. And I didn't say, this is my black friend Derek, my black friend Noah,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
This is my buddy Noah.
Exactly. Yes.
And, you know, I didn't share earlier
Mm-hmm.
with when I talked about my own adoption.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my children are black and or biracial.
So
And
awesome. It's cool.
this is one of those things that even the mindset that I carry today,
Uh-huh.
it was covered by so much chaos in my head
Mm-hmm. Okay.
that I now can say the reason I was willing to adopt outside of my race
Mm-hmm.
was because I grew up in a place where
True.
race didn't matter. It was
Right.
a friendship and
Yep.
kinship and
Yes.
working together.
Yes.
Um, so
Yeah.
that in and of itself is a blessing.
It is. And I wish it was a blessing that spread the world wide. So
Well, that's what I'm hoping. Getting out there and working with this book and getting out and speaking to groups like Dreamcatchers. Thank you for
well,
having me.
thank you.
Um, you know, there are there's so much out there
Yes.
that can change, but
Oh yes.
should it have to change? Why can't we be more open and willing to meet people and interact with them
Yep.
as equals?
Yeah. Where they're at. Yes. Yes.
Let's take people from where they're at, make them better human beings.
Amen.
I went to a seminar this past weekend,
Okay.
not related to Tony, and it happened to be a John Maxwell seminar.
Oh,
Uh,
another awesome
so
guy.
one of those speakers brought an interesting definition of love,
Okay.
and he said it's the unwavering and undeniable feeling of care for another human being.
Wow. That really, I got to
You know,
remember that. That's so, I really like that.
yeah. I mean, it's just about caring.
Mm-hmm.
It's about giving somebody a pat on the back
Yep.
when they giving them the attaboy.
Right.
Whatever it is that they need, and we all need something different.
True.
So, you know, whatever that may be for you, for your listeners, seek it out because it's so important
It is
and
extremely.
to create that whole you.
Yeah. No. I mean, that is so awesome. I love that. That is so cool. But so is that what got you? What was the thing that got you to write the book?
So, as I mentioned, I wrote the introduction that
Uh
day
huh. Uh huh.
and started saying, well, I started with this writing in 1994.
Uh
This
huh.
older. Wait till you get to the part of the book where I discuss my angel Pam.
Okay. Angel
You
Pam.
will
Okay.
know what I'm talking about. Um, I had these writings that were really raw and emotional. They were created on an old dot matrix printer,
Okay. Yep. I
uh,
remember those.
and some of them. There was one to my cousin Courtney, who may she rest in peace. She unfortunately uh, passed in an automobile accident,
Oh.
and my son. name is Isaiah Charles. Charles named after Courtney. And it was 2 paragraphs, very short paragraphs. What's recognizable about this was it was all lowercase.
Okay.
At the bottom, after I talk about whatever the letter contents had to speak to her, I wrote P.S. Don't laugh at me. You try making a capital when you only have use of one hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you hit shift and the key to get a capital?
Right.
You know, that's just one of those little
True.
adversities
That you
people
don't even think about. Yeah.
you know. And when I put that letter into the book, I made sure the editor left it in raw form.
Perfect.
So, as I said, some of those writings from 1994, and then it's 2000, 2000, I'm sorry, 2020, 2021, I started really writing this. And early 2021, I called my cadre of family and support, those that were sitting in the lobby at Cedar Sinai when I was ailing.
Oh, right.
Support. And I said to them, I've written a book and I'm asking you all to help me. I'm asking you all to read it, to edit it, and to offer me feedback.
Right.
And I had about 4 or 5 of them accept that task. And
okay, great.
They helped me along the way, but it wasn't finalized.
Okay.
It was finalized as a bunch of notebook paper with 3 written hole punch.
Sure.
Type of book.
Right.
And I wanted this. I wanted to be able
definitely hear
to
you. Yes.
Pages.
Yes.
So that book that I started writing in 1994 is right here.
Awesome.
That book I started writing in 2020 when Sylvester Stallone was on the stage talking. Is right here. And I brought it all current. I brought it to feelings of today. It deals with my career path, some of the decisions I made, some of the right decisions, some of the wrong decisions, some of the decisions I wish I could take back.
Sure. I can see that.
You know what, though? But I'm a good me.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to be. Is I wanted to be me. And then in 2023, I met with a dear friend.
Okay.
And you'll read a story about him and Isaiah in the U-Haul the day I moved from Palm Desert to San Diego. Not going to share the story here, but Rob was a member of the men's club with her congregation, and he's a writer by trade.
Okay.
And he now has a company called Right Away Books.
Okay.
And Rob and Right Away Books is who this is published in partnership.
Okay.
It went through a professional editing phase where Rob read it. He had a secondary editor read it.
Okay.
They added, they tweaked,
Sure.
My manuscript of 150 pages is now a 246-page book because they said, I need more of this.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or I need more of that.
Right.
And I just continued writing. And it's written in a very non-linear It's written in a chronological way, but a nonlinear way.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, for people who are familiar with Quentin Tarantino,
Mm-hmm.
Pulp Fiction,
Mm-hmm.
scene you see them being shot and dead on the ground. And the second scene, you see them running around and living their life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to know the end, and then you have to build back from
True.
the beginning to that end. And that's what this
Uh,
book is, because it's 1994, it's 2021, it's 2023,
yeah.
but I'm still a good me.
I love that.
So,
I mean that's perfect. I mean, I just love that. I wondered how the title came about, and that just is so great. For the audience, where can you purchase your book?
if you go on Amazon.com, it's available in both ebook for Kindle as well as paperback, which I've shared with you here. Um, Anywhere from $9, I think, for the electronic copy to
Okay.
$18 for the paperback.
Okay.
Um, and all you got to do is put my last name, Frankel, Frankel, and the title, But I'm a Good Me, and it'll pop up.
So cool. No,
So,
that is so awesome. So, okay, so you said you do speaking then? Do you speak on stage?
well, yes and no. So,
Okay.
in the line of work I've been in, I've been forced to guide boards, guide,
Oh,
uh,
sure. Right.
etc., etc. Um, and one of the speeches within the book. So in 1994, I was sick, February.
Mm-hmm.
That summer of 94, I had already signed my contract to work at a residence summer camp.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I knew I physically could not work at that camp,
Right.
but I could go to camp.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Very little.
Right. Right.
And I said, I'd like to do a program for you. At the same
Wow.
juncture, you had myself and my story of at a young age battling cancer, battling stroke recovery, and I had a dear friend who had MS
Oh, okay.
and a debilitating disorder, disease.
Yeah, very much.
Um, and the two of us both were scheduled to be there, both wanted to be there. And guess what?
Not
We
able
both
to.
went there and we
Did
both
you
did
both of you went? Okay. Awesome.
for the students there. Um, and I think the most telling thing was I wrote this passage that's within the book,
Right.
and it's kind of done as a meditation. You know, imagine you're 22 years old,
Yeah.
you live about 100 miles from your parents, yet you went home for the weekend, and it goes on and goes on to tell the story that I shared with you earlier.
Uh-huh.
Um, and he offered herself, and I did this with not a single hair on my head because
Wow.
of
Okay.
chemo,
Sure.
walking with a cane because I
Mm-hmm.
still was not stable.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And, you know, but I knew I could be there. I knew I
Yep.
could do that.
Yep.
And it was such a blessing for both Steph and I. And what I love Steph to death. She and I have kind of lost touch, but every so often we pop back into one another's.
Right.
Um, she's my age. Obviously,
Okay.
at MS for a 50-year-old is very different than MS for a 20 something.
Oh yes.
And when a question was asked to us in the question answer phase of the program, it was really hard for me to take, and I couldn't answer it. The question was, will you ever be normal again?
Oh, wow.
I internalized that. I caved.
I can understand why. Wow.
Steph took it, the bull by the horns, seeing where I was emotionally,
Uh-huh.
what emotions were evoked by the comments. And she said, cancer and stroke, you can recover from.
Mm-hmm.
MS is something I will never recover from. It's going to be with me for the rest of my life, and it's
Wow.
only going to get worse.
Right. Wow.
You know, and just knowing that, having the experience of sitting side by side with her that summer of 94, sharing this with young teenagers
Right.
and getting them to explore what it really means to be young and deal
Yep.
with these type of diseases, disorders. I then, the passage, as I mentioned, is in the book, the program that I did for them. I then, in 1996, became a youth director when I moved to Charleston, as we spoke of earlier.
Okay. Okay.
And the program came back to mind, overcoming adversity.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I did the program, and it happened to be we had the international president in the room
Oh, wow.
when I did that. Um, so I did it for a small southern region, which is Georgia and South Carolina. And I was asked to come to international execs to do it for the presidents of all
Oh, wow.
the nation. I've done the program many times.
Okay.
I don't want to make it, let's call it a flagship type program,
I can understand
because
that.
I want people to look at me when I walk in the room. That's Jeff. He's an able bodied guy.
Exactly.
To
I
do
hear
something
you.
for me, and he got it done in no time flat.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, that's why the book is chronological but not linear.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to know the end
Yeah, yep.
and then rebuild from the beginning.
Yeah. That is so wow. No, I love that. So okay. Are you what's next? Like down the 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, where would you like to be with everything you're doing?
So, I mean, right now I'm 52. I'm still enjoying my work, my day job, let's call
Uh-huh.
it.
Okay.
Uh, this is what I do in the evening and the weekends is pitch people, write books,
Right.
uh, have conversations.
Okay.
Uh, I do health and wellness coaching on a weight loss program.
Okay.
So, in part of my transformation in becoming an author, part of my transformation in becoming a good me was making my body as good as my mind.
Right.
Um, so I, at that point, when I started in January of 2021, I was 250 pounds.
Really? Okay.
Today I'm 179. I've been
Wow.
able to be at 180, hovering around 180 or below. January, in another month and a half, it'll
Yep.
be 3 years. Because when
Congratulations.
you
Wow.
eat right and when you learn what it means to eat right,
Yep.
every day I have to stop, challenge, and choose what I'm going to do. Sometimes I make the right choices, sometimes I make the wrong choices.
I
Have it
exactly.
may
Yeah.
be really tasty, and
Yep.
I do it sometimes, but what does it mean for me tomorrow when I
Yeah.
jump on the scale?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I'm a little
That's
bit
true.
about weighing in. I don't let myself go more than a couple pounds up or down,
I think
because
that's good.
if I'm a couple pounds heavy, I know how to tighten the reins. If I'm a couple pounds light, then I need to eat a little bit more
Yeah,
protein.
kind of do the yeah,
I need to up some of those vitamins.
yeah.
Uh, the biggest thing that I want to do, so these are all things that I do while working a full time,
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
more than 40 hours plus.
Uh-huh.
Um, long term, I want to retire and I want to be somebody who's out there interacting with humans, making them better,
Oh, I love
making
that.
them stronger, making them realize challenge the adversity headstrong.
Yep.
And if you have the focus, you can get whatever you want. So our health and
Amen.
wellness program, our weight loss program, it is been said it's not a weight loss program. It's a mindset program with a weight
Yes.
loss side effect.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yes. I
Yeah.
really like that.
And when they tell my story 5, 10 years from now, the one thing I want them to say is he endured everything and he kept going.
Amen. I love that.
That's
And
what I want.
that's a great statement. I mean, that just I mean, you are so inspirational. I love that. And I love your heart too. I mean, I mean, there's
This
so
is a
much.
great question, Mark. I know it's just starting, but bless your heart, and we're going to be friends for a long time moving forward.
Yes, I can't wait to meet you in person. So, no,
Absolutely.
that will be so great. So, is there anything else you want to know before we end the podcast here, or
Well, one of the things I wanted to do was there's not a lot of photographs
okay,
on the,
okay,
if you open the book, it's right.
oh, sure,
Two pictures, and I don't know if you can see them.
can yes,
So that's my family.
okay,
God said in 1994 I wasn't going to be able to have natural children. What God didn't say was I wasn't going to be able to be a father.
hmm,
All you got to do to have a kid is have one good night. All you got
hmm,
to do to be a father is have a lifetime.
yes,
So that's one picture. This is the other picture.
okay,
1994.
oh wow,
That's what I came from.
you've come a long ways.
Um, and the book coming out, as we approach 2024,
Yeah,
is a 30-year manifestation
hmm, right,
that became a reality.
yep,
So each and every one of us has a story to tell.
we do. Everybody, yes,
And I urge you all to share the story. Share it loud, share it proud. And
yes,
just because there are some bumps in the road
oh yeah,
doesn't mean you're at a dead end. It
true.
means you got to work a little bit harder
You do.
to
You
find the
definitely.
next rainbow, to find that
Oh,
next giant heart that's going
right.
to take you in.
Yes.
So,
Oh, I
Mark,
love that.
your heart and the energies, not just today, but in our calls leading up to this. And I look forward to having this online and being able to see it and share it with the
Yeah.
world. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you for being my guest, and we maybe have to do a follow up podcast sometime down the line too. Or
Anytime, I'm
okay,
always happy to take the time to talk and
Uh,
share.
I will count on that. I will look forward to that. So, but well, Jeffrey, thank you. Thank you for who you are, your big heart, and I look forward to getting to know you better and seeing what's next. So,
Lots
so
of
on.
things still to come.
Yep. So on that, I'm gonna end the Dreamcatcher podcast for today. And thanks for everybody that joined us. And until next time, take care.
Take it 1 second, please.